Hello, One Piece enthusiasts. I'm the One Piece nerd, and today let's talk about chapter 1058. And oh my god, Oda did not disappoint. After one was over, we all expected it to be great, and it is great. It is amazing. Now, for this chapter, since unfortunately we're going to go through a break, I'm going to talk about everything briefly. So, let's start off with whatever happened with the bounties. Most of the Straw Hat, the bounties are still being played around with, and to be completely honest, I don't mind this because, again, Oda's trying to confuse us readers that, hey, Jinbei is now here, and there could be shifting in commands, but it definitely will not happen. The rivalry between Zoro and Sanji will not stop until the final bounties are revealed. They could be exactly equal, or as usual, Zoro could be higher than Sanji's. Because to explain the whole order and Luffy's right hand and left hand men. So, with that being said, I don't have much complaints about anyone else. I love the whole aspect of Nami having Conqueror's Haki and basically putting Luffy in a cage. And it's hilarious how two Yonkos in this chapter are basically trapped in the cage with other people in the crew basically holding them hostage, which is great. So it's hilarious to see that the crew dynamic is back. This is something that has been missing for a while now. We finally got the crew back together, and we are seeing the crew dynamic as usual. And what is a better way to show the dynamic than to show us the bounties? So, in particular, the one person that I do find I didn't expect it to be like that was Frankie. Frankie's bounty is definitely lower than expected, and with his picture being swapped with 1,000 Sunny is also definitely very weird. Because if you want that, that is to be expected out of Sanji or maybe Usopp or even Chopper, for example. But with that being shown with Frankie is sort of weird. But it also kind of makes sense hilariously since Shogun Frankie came out of the ship and they considered the Frankie to be a part of the ship or something. I don't even know. So, and in terms of bounty wise, Robin had a significant increase in her bounty, which is to be expected. I really wanted it to go above 1 billion, but I guess Oda wanted to keep it below Zoro, Sanji, and Jinbei because, the whole right hand, left hand command thing. I guess it's fine. By the end of the story, I expect Robin to have a higher bounty than every single one of the crew members other than Luffy. But if Oda wants to keep the order, I guess it makes sense. For Zoro and Sanji especially to go above the 1 billion mark is not surprising. It's a huge jump. Nami had a 300 million jump. Frankie, I think, had a 300 million jump. And just Zoro, Sanji, and Luffy had some of the biggest jumps, which makes sense. If you want to show a Yonko crew's power, you have to put them in a scale where it actually matches. So with that being said, Zoro and Sanji being above 1 billion comes close to King and Queen, and at the same time it sort of correlates with, it's not too high to the point where it's close to Luffy, and it's not so low as to compare them to other emperor commanders and tell us that, this is too low of a bounty. And with everything being said and done, now that we have everyone's bounty, and I'm gonna say this for certain. Until the end of the series, there will be at least one, if not more, bounty changes or an increase in bounty for the Straw Hats from this one onward. It's either gonna happen after the final war, or it's gonna happen after the One Piece is found. Any one of that. And I don't know when, but there's definitely gonna be a change in bounty for the final time, where we get to see the actual bounty, the proper bounties for every single one of the Straw Hats, according to their strengths. And in my opinion, that should happen after they face off against Blackbeard. And that also ties up with, if they're going after Blackbeard first, what happens to Emu? That's for another discussion, for another video. But for now, I just want to say I'm happy with everything I've seen so far, and I have no complaints whatsoever. Now let's move on to Cross Guild. It's about time we got explanation from the Cross Guild. I expected Oda to sort of tease it a little bit more, as he always does with everything else. Considering we've gotten status report from Sabo after around 100 chapters since he showed up. 100 chapters? Maybe 50-ish chapters. Wait. Reverie, did anything happen? The last news we got of Sabo was before Act 2 started. So, it's been 50 odd chapters ever since we got that clue that something went wrong with Sabo and all the post Reverie stuff. We've been hanging on that for 50 chapters, and I'm glad to see that we get updates on Cross Guild right now, before even Oda does all his build-up stuff. I think they've had enough of a build-up, and they're gonna be major players in the upcoming war. They're gonna be major players by the end of the series. They want to create problems for the Marines, and what is a better way than issuing bounty on them? With all being said, I'm also glad that all this Buggy becoming Emperor thing, I'm glad it's a fluke. Because Oda wants to keep the trend. He's not the kind of person who would go out of his way to show a character having exceptional strength, out of nowhere, while we've seen him 80% of the time being weak. It would be very surprising if Buggy showed immeasurable power, like real power, comparing to other Yonkos. But it's good we see that it's not actually his strength, but it was actually a fluke. And the fluke being hilarious. And it also proved my point right from the Cross Guild introspection, where I made a video on the Cross Guild where I said, the whole marine hunting issue cannot be an idea that Buggy came up with. It is impossible for a person like Buggy and his caliber to come up with something so crazy. I'm glad it came from Crocodile of all people, because he's experienced in having organizations, and it came from him. As for Mihawk, though, I really like it. He doesn't bother being under someone unless you're gonna rule him. So, if you see Crocodile and Mihawk's dynamic, I actually like the fact that they're on equal terms, they respect each other, and we finally get to see Crocodile's true sort of, influence, power, and his strength. Because he got downplayed by Luffy, way too much in Alabasta. That was just when the series started. In actuality, he's actually very strong. Luffy just had a good counter to it. So with that being said, I'm glad they're on equal footings, they respect each other, and I'm glad Crocodile was the one to come up with this rather than Buggy. And it's hilarious how Buggy owes Crocodile money, and that's why Crocodile came to Buggy's rescue. It's not some miracle, it's just pure fact. And with that being said, one of the most surprising factor is Mihawk being known as a marine hunter. That sort of took me off guard, if you ask me. Because you don't expect someone like Mihawk to go after Marines, honestly. What you expect him to do is become a pirate who's a great swordsman, who doesn't like to have a crew, just want to be by himself. He's strong, he goes up against Shanks, and that's pretty much it. You don't really expect him to go after Marines actively. Which I guess sort of makes sense as to why they wanted to recruit Mihawk as a warlord. I mean, this could have happened before the warlord system and figured out that he was a big deal, so you want to tame a beast down. That's the best way to do it. Another thing I really want to talk about that I want to touch on a little bit is Weevil not joining the Cross Guild. I really didn't expect Weevil to join the Cross Guild because he had his own issues, he had his own problems to deal with. I'm also surprised that Boa Hancock isn't in it, which goes to show that maybe Oda has something planned for her separately. Go check out my Boa Hancock video. I actually didn't put up a proper conclusion, but I hope you guys will enjoy it. And with that being said, the whole entirety of the Cross Guild idea and how Crocodile needs money from investors to basically do all this, and we're gonna get help from the underworld. Buggy does have a chain of influence, if you ask me. He could be someone with no power, but the influence he has on the underworld and everything he does as a broker, it's understandable, and it could definitely prove to be an advantage for the Cross Guild. And to end it all off, I don't know what to say about Buggy's followers. It's a pure miracle by happen chance that Buggy was on equal footing with Crocodile, Luffy, and Ivankov and everyone else in Marineford. And the fact that Whitebeard knew him, which made him talk to Whitebeard, and Shanks and him were best friends. So, I mean, it was pure luck, and even though it was pure luck, by happen chance that he became a warlord and Crocodile came for his rescue, I don't think I like the fact about Buggy's followers being this blind. It acts as a very big comedic element, but at some point this has to go away. At some point the Cross Guild has to understand that Buggy is no one. If Oda tends to plan it the same way he did before, we're gonna treat Buggy to be. We know what Buggy is. He has no power. He has no authority. It's just blind followers following him just by happen chance. If that's gonna be played out all throughout the story, it's Oda's story. He does whatever he wants to do with it. But someone sooner or later needs to understand that Buggy's not the one. I might be throwing a bit too shade on this, but we'll never know. Now, finally, let's touch up on the revolutionaries. I don't want to talk much about it, so just Kuma's back. I'm glad that Kuma's back. I'm glad, everything's back to normal and Sabo is alive. And what's questioning me is the fact that Dragon knows Cobra somehow. Dragon knows Cobra, and he'd really be pissed if Sabo killed Cobra. And with that being said, I really think that there is some sort of a connection between Cobra and the Revolutionary Army. It also shows a lot about Vegapunk. We'll get to that in a future video. And as for now, honestly, we don't have much touch up on the revolutionaries. We could say that the split up happened in Marijoa while everything was taking place. Everyone else rescued Kuma, went back. Sabo got caught up in something like Vivi and Cobra's assassination plot and somehow made it out alive. And, the world government framed it on Sabo because who else to blame it but the opposing faction. That's been gaining a lot of fame. With that being said, that's all I had to say for the video. I have further thoughts in the next video. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe. Feel free to know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Until next time, peace.